In this lesson, we're going to design the back plate for our main headers, and we'll also set the type to convey that information. Okay, so we're right here where we left off. I'm going to go ahead and just pan down here a little bit. Now, I want my headers to kind of sit on a bar that we'll be creating. So I'm going to come in here, grab my rectangle tool, and just kind of draw one of those just kind of right in there like that. Now, I'm going to make this just a little bit wider than this space that you see right here. So almost an inch, maybe about 3/4 of an inch for the width of that. And we can change that later if we need to. Now, I want this to be a little bit more bold than just this light color that we've been using so far. So let's go over to our swatches, and I'm going to choose that teal color that we created. And I had the stroke set forward at that point, so now it has a stroke around it. That's not what I'm wanting. So go ahead and select it, and we'll swap those just by hitting that little arrow and then turning our stroke to none. So now we have a box that looks like this. So I'm going to go ahead and select the box, and I want this to be perfectly centered. And it looks like I got pretty close, but I want to make doubly sure that that's centered. So you can come up here. We'll go ahead and align to our artboard. So make sure that's still checked, and then go ahead and do a horizontal align center. And you can see that just barely move that over to the right a little bit. Now, one other thing that I want to do is I want it to be clear that the bar is talking about the information that's going to be below it. So a really subtle way to add that is just to kind of put a little arrow right there at the bottom of the bar. So a really easy way to do that is to come over here, grab our rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a really small little square. Now, I'm holding shift to constrain that so that it is a perfect square. So just like that. And then I'm going to twirl this just kind of up like that so that it's on its side. And if you hold shift, that's also going to make that twirl perfectly on its corner like that. Now we'll go ahead and select all of those, and we'll just do another align where we do that horizontal align center, and that's going to put that right in the middle. We'll go ahead and select it and just drag this down to the bottom, and I can zoom in here, and I'm just going to have this just right above the corners there so that that's not coming down, so it's not going to have any kind of an indentation right there. We're just going to drag that straight back up. And now I want this to be one continuous shape. So I don't want to risk, maybe accidentally moving that and not so that it's no longer in the center. So to make this one perfect shape, I'm going to select everything. We're going to use our Pathfinder. Now, we don't have Pathfinder open right now, so we're going to go ahead and come over here to Window and choose Pathfinder, and then we'll just snap that on to the bottom of those. Now, that's going to be our Pathfinder menu right there, and you're going to choose Unite. Now, this is actually a shape mode, but it also contains the Pathfinders, which we'll be talking about how to use some of those later on. So go ahead and hit Unite. And now you can see that the edge of that was just added to the rectangle that we created. Okay, so now we have that made, and I want to add a few more of these just based on that text that we see here. So we see the state of the coral reefs and overview. We've already taken care of that. And the next one we have is over 1 million species of plants and animals are a part of the reef ecosystem. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste that text. So highlight it, hit Control C, and we'll come over here, zoom back in, and I'll just hit Control V to paste that. And right now it's going to paste it in that same font that we were using earlier. So we'll want to go in and start changing that. But right away I can tell that this dark color is not going to work against this teal. So I'm going to change that to the light color that we created, that really light tan. So that looks much better, much more readable. And I can already tell that this piece of text, even if we bring the tracking in much further, it's going to be really long. So we should create a line break here. So instead of just saying, let's break this right in the middle, let's think about what makes sense to read as a statement. So over 1 million species of plants and animals are a part of the reef ecosystem. So if we just have over 1 million species of plants and animals, that's going to still be a really bold statement by itself without, they're probably going to assume that we're talking about the reef because they know that they're reading this graphic. So I'm going to break it right here between animals and R. So I'll just go ahead and backspace right there and then hit enter. So now we've broken that onto 2 separate lines. And we'll probably need to go into our layers panel here and just really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and we'll lock this path. So now I can't select that anymore. And now what I want to do is let's just go ahead and leave our part of the reef ecosystem as it is. But this piece of text up here, let's change that to our DIN font. So we kind of have the headers with DIN and that smaller text that's really tracked out really wide set at that Adobe Garamond. So we'll go ahead and type in DIN here. And now I want to make this a little bit bigger. So we'll just kind of bring that up. And this is definitely tracked out a lot farther than I would like. So I'll come back in over here and we'll bring this down quite a bit. So I'm just making that tracking smaller. And then I have much more room to make this larger if I want to. And I really like the way this is looking. It's kind of just right in between this column here and here. We could definitely bring that leading up a little bit just so that's kind of fitting there a little bit better. And I'm pretty happy just with the weight of this font. If you wanted to, you might want to kick that up to medium from regular, just like that. That might make it a little bit better. And let's go ahead and maybe make it just a little bit smaller. So it's at 30 right now. Let's just take it down to a 28. And that's just going to make it feel a little bit better in this small or smaller header that we see. And I'm also going to make sure that I'm aligning this to my artboard. So we can come up here to align. And we'll just click that horizontal align center. So now that's perfectly in the middle. We can zoom in. This still looks like a good amount of space between the top and the bottom, so that's pretty much perfectly in the middle there. So you're on your way. You've really started kind of getting this infographic on its way. I'm going to take that tracking in just a little bit more so that's not quite so wide. Maybe just put that at 10. Okay, so now what I want to do is come in here and kind of duplicate this look for the rest of our headers. So we need to unlock this layer that we've got right there. So go ahead and open that back up. We'll unlock that path. And I'm just going to select both of those and Alt drag it down so that I can just kind of have another set right here. So I know that my next header, if I pull this over, is going to be Coral offers benefits to humans. So I can use the same styling that I had for the one above it, just for this one here. And then we have kind of this large piece of text. At the present rate of destruction, 70% of coral reefs may be gone in less than 40 years. And I want to treat this a little bit differently than we're treating the other ones because this is kind of a big call-out fact. In fact, if you go through and read this text, there's a big shift in tone here. So we kind of are starting out where we've got a very, happy, all of the happy stuff about the reef. And then we start talking about, how they're helpful to humans. And then we have, kind of a shift here where we talk about humans being a threat to coral and our activities and so that kind of thing. So this at the present rate of destruction piece of text is going to be handled a little bit differently. So we'll just skip that one for now and then come on down here. And right here we have our next one. So what is being done to stop the destruction? That's going to be the next main header that can just use the same style as what we have created here. So I'll just go ahead and Alt drag this down, and this is going to be at the very bottom since that was kind of the bottom of that Word document. So we'll just kind of place this down here closer to that bottom area. All right, so now let's go ahead and change what this says. So we don't want this to be, you know, exactly the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the Adobe Garamond piece of text, because that line, this next line here, is not really long enough to need to be broken onto 2 lines. So Coral offers benefits to humans is going to be the next one. So I'll go ahead and just copy that, hit Control C. And we'll just paste this in here, Control V. And you can see that that, you know, already looks pretty good like it is, but I'd like to maybe make it just a little bit bigger. So we'll come in here, it's at 28 right now. Let's just set that to about 35, just to give it a little bit more of a bold look. And now I'll go ahead and come down here and do this at the bottom. So the piece of text that we'll have here at the bottom is going to be what is being done to stop the destruction. And again, that is not really needing to be broken onto 2 lines. So we'll just go ahead and paste that in there and delete the Garamond kind of lower piece of text there. Okay, and we had this set at 35 for our other piece. So I'll kind of bring that down, and that'll just make it feel, you know, like it's basically in the same realm as that piece. So now we've got this header really matching this one, and then this one is broken up just a little bit differently, simply because of how long of a header it is. So now you've got your header set up, and we have that one last header that is, you know, a little bit different from the other ones. So we're going to talk about how we'll set up the text for that in the next lesson. That's going to be the tone shift header. So a little bit different treatment, and it's going to take us a little bit longer to figure out exactly how we want that to look. So we'll talk about that in our next lesson.